today I would like to welcome Mr. Alastair Hanlon. He is Chief Commercial Officer at Pragmatic Semiconductors. Thank you for having you here and a hearty welcome to you.
Thank you, Anya, and a pleasure to be here and talk to this group of people and talk to you as well. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, so please tell me, where are you located today? So from where are you broadcasting?
I am in sunny Cambridge in the UK. I'm pleased to say the rain has stopped, and so we're in Cambridge, UK, which is a classic university town that many people have heard of. We're based as a company in the UK. We have our manufacturing in the northeast of England, in a place called Durham, which is near Newcastle, and I'm based down here in our headquarters here in Cambridge.
Yeah, okay. So I would like to explain our audience that we are broadcasting from Lüneburg, which is nearby Hamburg. And now we start already because the stage is yours. So I would like to start with the first question. Can you please explain us or give us a small introduction about your company?
Great. Well, thank you. So Pragmatic, we're a semiconductor chip manufacturer. We manufacture those chips in a new way that doesn't use silicon. Probably the easiest way to explain what we do is to show you what we make. So we make these films, which have semiconductor chips on them. This particular one has thousands of individual semiconductor chips. So yes, we've invented a new way of making high volume semiconductor chips. And one of the markets that we're addressing with that is the Internet of Things, in particular kind of RFID activities.
Yeah, and now I would like to learn more about FlexIC. So what are FlexICs and what does it mean, embedded intelligence? And the third question, what are the benefits of these FlexICs?
Thank you. So FlexICs is our name for our chips. IC stands for integrated circuit. Integrated circuit is a combination of transistors, capacitors, resistors, and other components to make a circuit. And that's been done in silicon for decades now, to make the chips that we use every day. So the chips that are in this computer that we're looking at, in our mobile phones, and in the IoT world, the most obvious example is RFID, radio frequency identification chips. So we're providing an alternative to that with our first product that we're bringing to market, alternative to silicon, and also a platform on which innovators can create all sorts of different IoT devices. So that's what a FlexIC is. In terms of the benefits, our model is that we have a very scalable manufacturing system, which means that we can create high volume applications for things like RFID and Internet of Things in very high volume at a relatively low cost, and importantly, at a much lower environmental footprint than is with silicon. So we can make them with much lower energy and much lower water. So that's the main advantages of our technology.
Oh, thank you. How are FlexICs making an impact in terms of sustainability?
Well, there's a couple of ways. So the core process itself that we use to manufacture the chips uses about a third less energy than to manufacture similar wafers in silicon. Most people don't really know that silicon chips that are used in everything that we touch, every piece of electronics, they actually take an awful lot of energy to manufacture them. Very high temperature processes are involved in turning the sand into silicon, and then further on, making them functional chips. Our approach is that we use a low temperature and much quicker process, which means that the environmental impact of manufacturing the chips is radically lower than it is with silicon. We also use around 100 times less water, and water is a scarce resource in most parts of the world, in many parts of the world. And so getting that pure water also takes some energy as well. So our impact on sustainability is that the chips themselves use a lot less energy and water than silicon, which means that you can add them into everyday applications where perhaps the footprint would be too much. The other thing we're doing is enabling a whole host of new use cases. So use of technology and use of IoT devices in new areas. So, for example, the coffee cup that I'm using today, this is actually not a disposable cup, it's a reusable cup. So many of the large packaging and drinks manufacturers and so on in the world are moving to reusable plastics rather than single use. So rather than using this once and then disposing of it, we can now have this in a system where it's collected, it's washed, and it's returned and it's reused. And that whole system, that whole cycle is enabled by having a unique identifier, which is programmed into this cup. And that's actually down in the bottom here, that we have one of our FlexICs, our chips, is embedded in the bottom of this cup. And that allows us to shift from a single-use disposable world to a world where packaging is reused. And that's the kind of application that we're enabling with our new technology.
Yeah, thank you very much for this perspective on sustainability. Yeah, and thank you also for the information about what are the benefits from Flex ICs compared to traditional ICs. Thank you for that. Now I would like to come to a global perspective, because 2023 is a challenging year because the industry is awakening worldwide. And what does that mean for your company? Because you are a high volume producer and your market is globally. So how are you acting in this challenging world?
Well, you're right. I mean, from our point of view, we're seeing explosive growth in our company with demand for our chips from all over the world. So we'll be traveling to Asia later next week to meet with customers over there, across Europe and the US as well. We have customers. So we're seeing a huge growth in the company and demand for it. And part of that growth is driven by the semiconductor chip shortage, the silicon semiconductor chip shortage. Now, the silicon semiconductor industry kind of goes on this roller coaster of supply and demand over the years. But through COVID, we saw obviously a significant increase in awareness of what happens if you can't get a silicon semiconductor chip. So we saw car manufacturers have to pause production. We saw RFID suppliers have to say no to customers, which is never a good thing. And that was all because they couldn't get enough silicon, principally out of the Asian manufacturing sites. Our method of production uses a factory which is modular and small and is much less expensive to install than a silicon semiconductor fabrication plant. So we take around 100 times less capex or upfront investment to make one of our factories. And what that means is that we can build out capacity much more quickly in response to that customer demand. And that's what we're doing now. So we're building our factory, we're expanding our capacity now to respond to that. And ultimately, we've got a model where our factories, our fabs, can be placed in customer sites around the world, so they can be dropped into customer factories wherever they are, so that some of that global supply chain can be brought back and made local, which we think is a good way of responding to the global trends we have around uncertainty.
Okay, thank you very much for this answer. Now I would like to change the topic a little bit, but we are still talking about Flex ICs. So what is your company showing at the Wireless IoT tomorrow in Wiesbaden? And do you know already something about the lectures and the information in the lecture theater of your company?
Yeah, so we're first of all, thank you. We're super excited to be coming over to Germany again and meeting all our friends and colleagues from the industry. We're really looking forward to the event. We'll be having a booth there. We'll be showing our technology. So anyone who wants to come and have a look and talk to us more about the unique technology that we have and some of the applications like this radio frequency tag that we have with our chip on it. We're going to have several of our team members there, and we'll be really looking forward to speaking with you. In terms of our speaker slot, I don't want to steal the thunder of our speaker, who's our CEO, Dave Moore. He's joined Pragmatic around 6 months ago as our new CEO, and he's going to be talking. He's come from the Bay Area, from the West Coast of the US, working in major semiconductor manufacturers, and he's going to be talking about some of the global trends in semiconductors and why he's joined Pragmatic and why he's excited about that, but also talking about the linkage between the item level identity and things like sensing for temperature and humidity and those kind of things that we can enable with our product, and the link through to big data and AI and analytics. So most of the world and a lot of the insights that businesses are looking to provide, either for themselves or for their customers, are going to be driven by AI models. And those AI models need data. They're hungry for data. And with our technology, we can be feeding data in near real time through to those AI models in huge volume. And that's going to take a shift in technology from traditional silicon. And alongside traditional silicon, we will be adding a new layer of ubiquitous connectivity using our technology. So that's what we'll be talking about.
Thank you. A shift in technology is a good keyword, because I would like to talk a little bit about the future now. Looking ahead, where do you envision your company in 5 years?
Great, it's a great question. I mean, we're a relatively small company at the moment. We're growing very quickly. We have around 250 employees today. We're building out our manufacturing capability, as I mentioned earlier. So we have a high volume manufacturing line, which we're just about to turn on. And so in 5 years, we plan to expand that capacity by adding further production lines towards having around 100 production lines distributed globally. So some here in the UK, some wherever our customers need them around the world. And we've got great plans to grow the company as well, from our kind of current staff base to more, to be hundreds of people here serving the global IoT community. So it's a really exciting time for the company, and we're really happy to be part of IoT and talking about our company and where we're happy to go.
Thank you. So my next, or already last question, would focus also on the future. What would everyday life look like with wireless IoT technologies in 10 years? What do you think about that?
Wow. Well, you think about it now. I mean, I'm looking around every room that we're in, and we take it for granted that we're connected, that the air conditioning is working, that the lighting is working. Many homes now have some sort of voice control device, which is connected to many items. So I think that's really just going to proliferate even further. I would certainly love to see a world where, single-use items are tracked and logged and collected. That's a vision that we've had here at Pragmatic for many years. We've been talking about the use of RFID as a way of identifying plastic waste, for example, and sorting. So I think there's a whole area of sustainability and reuse, which is super important. We're seeing the first indications of that in the clothing industry, in the apparel industry, so that when you're finished with an item, you can understand what it was made of. I think that will proliferate into everyday objects. So in my home, I will have a bin, which will be a smart bin, and I'll put my waste into the bin, my packaging waste, and perhaps it will be automatically sorted there and then, or perhaps, somewhere off-site it will get sorted. So there'll be like zero waste. Everything will be collected and reused. That would be a vision for a kind of better society, a better way of working. And then we see applications for our technology to be embedded in things like healthcare devices, in things like we're doing some work on testing kits for certain diseases and infections. So I think there's a whole wave of connected devices and feedback loops to customers that is going to be super important. And another big area for us is wearable devices. Obviously, one of the benefits of our technology is it's thin and flexible. You can see this is, super thin here. That means that we can be having wearable sports devices and wearable fun, glasses and all sorts of toys and things, which actually have intelligence within them, but are not clunky, ugly devices. They're smooth and cool and flexible and comfortable. So we'll all be wearing Pragmatic-based devices, and we'll be connected to the Internet of Things using those activities.
Great information. Thank you, Mr. Alastair Hanlon from Pragmatic Semiconductors. Yes, I'm happy that we see us in Wiesbaden already pretty soon. So thank you very much for this talk.
Well, thank you for your time today, Anya, and really looking forward to meeting you and the rest of the team. And as I said, visiting and sharing with our colleagues. So thank you again for your time.